Welcome back. U.S. President Barack Obama has had a good 6 years worrying about America's relations with the rest of the world. I remember when he made his acceptance speech that November night in Grant Park, Chicago, Illinois, the president was vibrant, ambitious, and ready to steer America on a new path of world dominance. 4 years on, he nearly lost the re-election because Americans blamed him for the economy. Jobless rates had risen considerably higher than most of his predecessors. Analysts at the time said that many Americans, especially Republicans, rejected the new national health care plan known as Obamacare. Many analysts, however, are still trying to figure out what America's policy towards Africa is, especially those on this side of the continent of the world. In 2013, President Obama launched the Power Africa initiative to help provide electricity to 60 million homes in Africa. Last year, he hosted African presidents in the first ever U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit, where trade and investment were encouraged on both sides. And African leaders agreed that if the continent was to be developed, the first steps should be taken by them. And then the United States has promised support for countries such as Nigeria in the fight against insurgency against Boko Haram, though that support seemed to have waned a bit last year. Despite declaring again and again how strategically important Nigeria is, the U.S. president on his 2 visits to the continent since becoming president has not visited Nigeria. Professor Kayode Soremekun, a political and international affairs analyst, helps us understand the relations America has with this part of the world.
It is easy to regard him as a lame duck president. And I'm not being pejorative here because I'm speaking in terms of one of the common terms in political science, that is a lame duck president. So to that extent, I just wondered, what has he been doing all these years, such that in the context of injury time, he's not paying attention to Africa. So to that extent, I think he simply is on his way out, and he simply wants to put it, he wants it to be on record that at the point in time, he did pay some attention to Africa. Even if he's doing that, as far as injury time bandwidth is concerned.
We've always seen that the relationship between Africa and the rest of the world, especially the West, has always been one on the receiving end and the other always expecting aid, one always giving and the other always expecting. Do you think that this would change over time?
Actually, let me begin by saying that your assertion, with due respect to your party, is a bit simplistic, in the sense that Africa's relations with the world is grounded in other historical dynamics, and the donor-recipient relationship is only the latest of that kind of relationship. We are talking here of the years of slavery, we are talking of colonialism, and we are talking of neo-colonialism.
Now to our own president, Muhammadu Buhari, who made a historic visit to the United States, meeting with President Barack Obama before he dashed off to Kenya. President Muhammadu Buhari said he had discussed the issue of insecurity in the Northeast with his U.S. counterpart and had received assurances that the U.S. government will this time visibly assist Nigeria in fighting this war. While there has been analysis over this trip, the benefits for both sides, it's important to keep a close eye on the fulfillment of promises and what that means for Nigeria.
The visit by President Buhari is said to have been historic. It's the first for President Buhari since winning the presidential election, campaigning on change and good governance. Since resuming office, the president has solicited the cooperation of international partners in the fight against the Boko Haram insurgency. The United States has always emphasized its readiness to support Nigeria in the fight against the terror group. Therefore, it was no surprise that both presidents were on the same page when they put the Boko Haram insurgency high up in their discussion on Monday.
President Buhari comes into office with a reputation for integrity and a very clear agenda, and that is to make sure that he is bringing safety and security and peace to his country.
President Muhammadu Buhari, not much a talker, did acknowledge that pressure from the United States and Europe helped ensure elections in Nigeria were free and fair.
Nigeria will remain ever grateful to President Obama and the United States for backing Nigeria to consolidate its gains on democratic system. The visit of the Secretary of State when he visited Nigeria to see the president, the former president of Nigeria, see the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Jega, and so the opposition was very clear and a positive trend that saw us through for this credible election we had.
But he did speak most extensively on it at the U.S. Institute of Peace.
We are confident that we will defeat terrorism in our country and region because we have the will to win this fight. We will win because we have the support of the Nigerian people who voted us into office to do things differently in order to secure them from harm and provide for their prosperity and well-being. We will win because the United States and indeed the international community have pledged to stand with us in solidarity.
The president also used his address to the U.S. Senate on Tuesday to seek more support in the fight against insurgency. The message continued when he met with Secretary of State John Kerry, who said the U.S. president is deeply committed to working with the Nigerian government to fight Boko Haram. Many Nigerians living in the United States were pleased with the visit by the president. What remains to be seen is how well the goodwill received in the U.S. will translate to better living for those back home.
When we come back after the break,
we don't want this serious recovery.
we hear from President Buhari himself about his meeting with President Obama. Join us again.